So what is the best way to save for your child's college education? A 529 or an ESA? Before we get started, make sure you hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time that I upload a new video each week. Also stick around to the end of the video where I'll reveal another option besides a 529 or an ESA. Now, which is the better method to save for your child's college education? A 529 plan or educational savings account, or ESA. Whether you choose the 529 plan or the ESA, this will help your child avoid student loan debt, which is the #1 debt when a child gets out of school. Now, both of these are investment accounts that you can choose to save for your child's education. Now, let's take a closer look at each one of these. So the 529 plan, which is named after the Section 529 of the Federal Tax Code, allows you to save for your child's education. There are two types of 529 plans: a 529 savings plan and a 529 prepaid tuition plan. The 529 savings plan allows you to save for educational expenses but does not allow you to lock in the current tuition rates. On the other hand, the 529 prepaid tuition allows you to lock in the current tuition rates. With this prepaid tuition plan, it allows you to avoid the rates going up in the future. You use after-tax dollars to fund any of the 529 plans. So this is money that you've already paid taxes on, and the money that you contribute in these accounts allow your money to grow completely tax-free. So all of your gains that are inside of the account grow tax-free. You're allowed to make tax-free withdrawals from your 529 plan just as long as it's for qualified educational expenses. If your child chooses not to go to college, or if they have a scholarship, you can use the 529 and transfer it to another child or another relative in your family. So in addition to transferring it to another child or a relative in your family, you can use the money in the 529 to fund your college if you decide to use the account. And transferring a 529 plan to a child or another relative can be done so without any penalties, just as long as it's for educational expenses only. 529s are ran by each individual state, so the rules for each one will be different according to the state that you open the account in. You are not limited to the state of residency when opening up your 529 plan, so you can actually open up an account in a different state than you live in for your 529 plan. It is best to choose a plan that you can choose your own investment strategy. Most of the 529 plans invest in mutual funds. You can contribute as much money as you like to a 529 plan because there are no annual limits. In addition to no annual limits, there are no age restrictions on when the money has to be used. So if your child graduates from college and then decides to go back to get their master's at age 34 or 35, you can choose to use the 529 plan to cover those expenses if you still have money left in the account. So there are no age restrictions that you can use the 529 plan for educational expenses. In December of 2019, the Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement Act, also known as SECURE Act, allows you to use 529 plans to pay for up to $10,000 of student loan debt. Expenses for K through 12 school can be used only with the 529 savings plan. This cannot be used for the prepaid tuition 529 plan. And some of the educational expenses include tuition, fees, room and board, books, and other related costs. The 529 prepaid tuition does not allow you to use it on room and board expenses. So keep that in mind when you're selecting your 529 plan and which one is right for you. So in addition to you contributing to the 529 plan that you choose, also other relatives are able to contribute to your child's 529 plan. So instead of getting the child a Christmas gift or birthday gift, they can contribute directly to the child's education in the 529 plan so that they can use it for college related expenses. So this applies to aunts, uncles, grandparents, and any other relatives that want to contribute to your child's education. The Coverdell Educational Savings Plan, which is named after Senator Paul Coverdell, which pushed for the Educational Savings Plan in Congress. Unlike the 529 plan, the Educational Savings Account, or ESA, is opened directly with the brokerage account or other financial institutions. With your ESA, you have a little bit more control over your investments, so you can invest in individual stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or index funds, and other investment vehicles in this ESA. Just like the 529 plan, you use after-tax funds to contribute to the ESA. So unlike the 529 plans, there are certain restrictions that prevent you from contributing to an ESA. One restriction is that you have to be under the modified adjusted gross income. If you're under the modified adjusted gross income threshold, you're able to contribute up to $2,000 per child. The money that you contribute in your ESA grows completely tax-free. You are able to make tax-free withdrawals from your ESA just as long as it's for qualified educational expenses. And very similar to the 529 plan, you are able to transfer the money to another child or relative to be used for qualified educational expenses without any penalties. And as I mentioned earlier, with the ESA, there are certain income limits and thresholds that you must follow before investing in an ESA. One big difference between a 529 plan and an ESA is that you can only contribute $2,000 to an ESA. So make sure to factor that into your decision when you're trying to choose which one is best for you. The money that is in an ESA must be used by the time the child is 30, or penalties and taxes will be applied to the account. So let's look at the ways you can actually withdraw from either the 529 plan or the ESA. Under the 529 plan or the ESA, you can withdraw tax-free for qualified educational expenses. These withdrawals are exempt from federal, state, and local taxes. Now, if you want to withdraw the money for non-educational expenses in your 529 plan or your ESA, you can, since this is your money, but you'll be hit with a 10% tax penalty. In addition to the 10% tax penalty, you'll be subject to taxes on the amount that you withdraw, as well as any state and local taxes. And also, if the person who receives the money is not you, they will also be hit with taxes on the amount of money that they receive. But you can always withdraw the money for whatever you like, but you'll be hit with a 10% tax penalty and any other taxes that are applicable for non-qualified educational expenses. Now, some of the benefits to the 529 plan and the ESA is that it doesn't hurt your child's eligibility for grants or other federal assistance. So the question is, which one should you use to actually save for your child's education? The 529 plan or the ESA? Well, actually, that's up to you. There's a couple of things that may factor into your decision in choosing either the 529 plan or an ESA. One of those decisions is that if you have certain income restrictions that allow you to contribute or not contribute to either one of these accounts. Another decision that you'll factor into either choosing a 529 plan or an ESA is where your child actually lives. This can actually be a good or bad thing depending on which one you choose, because some states have certain tax benefits that allow the contributor to take advantage of. But personally, I think the 529 savings plan is the best for me and my family, and most people that are looking to save for their child's education will be just fine with choosing the 529 savings plan. But again, that is just my opinion. So if you're looking for a little bit more control over your investments for your child's education, I would say choose the ESA. But overall, the 529 savings plan will give you the best bang for buck and allow you to have some control over your child's investments while growing your money completely tax-free. Now, remember when I told you to watch all the way to the end of this video and I'll give you another option besides a 529 or ESA? Well, that option is a taxable custodial brokerage account for your child. Now, you can choose to use Fidelity, Vanguard, or any other financial institution to open up a custodial brokerage account. Now, in your custodial brokerage account, you can invest in one fund that'll cover everything for your child. A good example of this is the Fidelity Zero Funds. With the Fidelity Zero Funds, there are no expense ratios, so you can watch your money grow as much as possible without any expenses associated with it. If you're unfamiliar with Fidelity Zero Funds, make sure you check out my video on how Fidelity Zero Index Funds can actually save you money in the future for building your wealth. I'll put a link in the description below. You can also click on the card on the screen to watch the video. Now, I would choose a large cap index fund or either a total stock market index fund. Now, either one of these funds will give your child complete exposure to the stock market. Now, I'll make a later video explaining how custodial brokerage accounts work and how you can use them to invest in your child's future. But the thing I like about a custodial brokerage account for your child is that they can be used for either educational expenses or if they decide to do anything with the money, such as open up a business or invest in their first house. So those are the 529 and ESA plans. Make sure you comment below and let me know which one you use or which one you plan to use for your child's education. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.